Aloha everybody, it's Brad Bordessa from liveukulele.com. I think I'm going to redo the video I did on octaves because the camera I was using had really bad audio quality. So, this is how you play octaves on the ukulele. Octaves are two of the same notes, but they're divided by an octave. So it's the same note, but on two different pitches. So there's one low note and one high note of the same note. So in this case it's two C's. It's the open C and then a higher C up on the 3rd fret of the bottom string. So you play those together and you would call it an octave. So you use octaves in many different situations, but one that's kind of stereotypical to the sound is like in jazz with like Wes Montgomery kind of stuff. Just that kind of thing. It just gives the note a little bit fatter sound, and you've got just one more tonal texture you can use. So there's basically one shape that you use depending on whether or not you have a high G or a low G. But we'll start with the one on the bottom two strings, and this is universal for either high G or low G. And it looks like this. It is, you can move it around because wherever your fingers end up, that's just the root of the octave. So, because each note is the same, so when you move it around, you find what one finger's note is called, and that's just what the whole octave is called. So the shape is index finger on a fret on the C string, and then your pinky or your ring finger, but probably your pinky would be easiest, skips one string down and then goes up 3 frets. So it's going to be, you're going to have 2 frets in the middle and 1 string in the middle. So for this one, it is 2nd fret on the C string and 5th fret on the bottom string. So skipping 2 in the middle and then skipping a string in the middle too. So that's the pattern, and you can take that and you move it around. Right here it's a D, but here it's an F, there's an A, and all in between. You can use it. You can use it anywhere. And then if you're playing with a low G, you can take that same shape and just hop it up to the next set of strings. So now you're playing on G and E, and same idea, 2 frets in between, going up on the bottom, and then there's 1 string in between. So same shape. Here it is 2nd fret on the top string, 5th fret on the E string or 2nd string, and this is an A octave. And again, you can just move it around. One last shape that you can use if you play with the low G is this one. It's kind of a little bit harder to play. It's harder to mute, harder to use in practical situations. But this one is basically bottom string on a fret and then top string skipping 1 fret in the middle. So this one is 2nd fret, 1st string, and then 4th fret on the top string with your ring finger. And you just pinch those and more octaves. But like I said, that one's harder to mute, so it's a little harder to use. So the biggest thing about playing octaves is figuring out how to mute them effectively and making them just practical, because if you're pinching everywhere, if you're pinching all the octaves, it gets kind of hard to work them into your playing if you're just doing pinches. But when you can start to mute them and like just strum them, it totally changes the ball game. So to mute an octave, there is this octave on the bottom. We'll start here. Basically how I mute it is I just lean over my index finger, so that covers the E string and makes it so it doesn't ring, and then I just bring my thumb over to kind of touch the G string so it doesn't ring. So So kind of bad technique is what leads to the muting, but it's bad technique in the right places. So does that make a good technique? I don't know. And then this other one, I'm using my index finger to mute everything. So my index finger is leaning over and is muting the C string and is also muting the bottom A string. So the trick here is going from string set to string set. So you can play all day long on. You can play all day long on just one string set, but when you start jumping around, then it becomes interesting because you got to jump back and forth from muting with your whole index finger and then index finger and thumb, so it's like you're twisting on the neck a lot. But those are your basic octave shapes. Play around with those. There's some cool stuff that Jake does with it on the Play Loud Ukulele DVD in Europa. That's kind of how I first started using octaves, was I went and figured that out. I think it's somewhere on my site. I think it's on the octaves lesson page of Live Ukulele, so if you want to learn that, go check that out. I've got it written down. But until then, aloha.